Hello guys and gals and welcome. So today I wanted to talk about a very cool thing about Diablo 4, something that I rather enjoy, and that is, yes, as you probably have already surmised by the title, Legendaries are garbage, and Godlike rares are back. That's right, Godlike rares have become the new normal. What exactly am I talking about? Well, okay, when you look at your character, you don't really quite see it because like, I'm wearing a legendary, so it doesn't really like click right away that this is completely different from the way that Diablo 3 does things. And Diablo 3, these items right here, like for instance a rather decent rare sword or a rather decent rare helmet, are absolutely and 100% completely garbage in Diablo 3. In fact, past a certain level, you will probably never put a rare item on your character in that game. In fact, for the most part, you just walk straight over to the armor vendor and you either A, sell them for gold, or B, go to the armorer himself and you salvage them for items. But in Diablo 4, that's not the case. It actually, as it turns out, ends up being that the legendaries are the garbage items that you generally don't want, and the rares are actually pretty damn good. Now, why is it this way in Diablo 4 when it's not this way in Diablo 3, and why is this a good thing, you might be asking? Well, number one, the game has restrictions on being able to trade legendary items. This is something that most of the legendaries, not all, by the way, most of the legendaries are account bound. As you can see right down there at the bottom, it says account bound. But if you go through all of my legendary items, look at this. This one's not account bound. And in our testing, what we found out is you can trade it with other people, which is very interesting. But one of the things that is not account bound pretty much ever is rare items. And this is a very good thing. In Diablo 2, when we had our kinship, our clan, we would swap items with each other. One of our most favorite things to do was an item swap game. And we were afraid you wouldn't be able to swap anything. You wouldn't be able to help out your teammates. You wouldn't be able to do anything. But as it turns out, that's actually not the truth at all. Because even though the legendaries themselves are locked, the rares are not. And so what ends up happening is you go searching and you find the perfect rare. Like, for instance, this one that has +1 rank of imbuement and +1 rank all agility skills. It has sockets in it and everything. It's what you're looking for. It's the specific thing that you're looking for, right? And so what you do is you take that amulet that's not what you're looking for, you throw it in here, and you rip the aspect off. Now, once that aspect has been ripped off, it goes into your aspect area here. Now, you still can't trade that either. But the thing is that as you're playing through the game, you can keep your eyes open for godlike rares, specific things that other people might be looking for. Like, for instance, I'm a trap rogue right now. I don't care about most of the skills on this tree. The only thing I care about is my traps. All right? But if I happen across a necklace like this, which is +1 rank imbuements and +1 rank agility skills and so forth, and has maybe the right number of sockets and the right number of modifiers, I can be like, hey, any bow or any such and such rogues out there want this necklace, and I can link it in chat. Of course, I can pop it into chat if you're in the right chat that actually supports linking, and you can link it so people can see it. You can just sit there and drop a bunch of rares on the ground for your friends or trade with people. And the reason why this is because the legendaries themselves, the legendary effect, because you can pull it off and put it onto anything, becomes essentially kind of like garbage, essentially. Because as you find legendaries, the legendary item itself is probably not going to be better than what you have on. For instance, this legendary right here, I recently found, and it's in no way near better than the one that I created. And I think this is the most important thing, is that as you go through the game, it is a completely different experience to, say, Diablo 3, which is in Diablo 3, when you find these rare items, you would not care at all that they existed. you would just, just remove them from your character as quickly as possible, salvage them, sell them, whatever it had to do. In many cases, if you filled up on too many legendaries and set items, you would just simply throw them away. Because who wants that piece of garbage, right? But not in this game. In this game, when you get to town and your inventory is absolutely chock full of rares, you know what you do? You generally go over to the salvage vendor, or you go over to the sell vendor, one or the other, depending on whether you need money or materials, and then you literally go through every single item. And you go, okay, no, that's not better than what I have. All right, no, that one's not better than what I have. Let's go ahead and sell that. No, that one doesn't have the plus to skills that mine has. Does have the dexterity, but not quite the same, and so forth and so on. And you're going to keep going through all these items. It does have a socket, which is nice. It does have the, so forth and so on. And by the time you're done, you're going to have sold all the bad rares, and you're going to be keeping all the good ones. And you're going to basically take these and turn them into the item that you actually need. And I actually really, 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 really enjoy this. I never did like the fact that Legendaries overshadowed everything else. If you played Diablo 2, like me, you know that rare items can sometimes be the best in slot for your character. Magical items can sometimes be the best in slot for your character in Diablo 2. There are rares and magic items in Diablo 2 that are absolutely godlike. And I did not ever enjoy Diablo 3's system where all magical items and all rare items were all garbage. And Diablo 4 fixes this because it allows you to actually, number one, take a look at each of the rares and actually find rares that are very high valuable to you. Like, for instance, I'm wearing a pair of pants right now that gives me +1 to my poison trap because I'm a trapper. I'm wearing a pair of gloves that gives me the grenade skills, but I don't have a very good base for these. So I'm probably going to end up destroying these and finding a better base. I have a very nice, where is it? Boots that give me +1 rank to dash and +1 rank to caltrops. And through this way of choosing your items and finding the best pieces of equipment for those sockets or those spots, those rares, you end up with just some really amazing equipment. And it's just a very fun way to customize your character and just have a blast making sure that you've got like the most powerful equipment on that you can possibly have, or not even the most powerful, but the most useful to your specific build. In Diablo 3, there were all these little up and down arrows and everything, and for the most part, you could literally just be like, okay, this one says it's better, so I'm just going to go ahead and equip it, and that was it. And in Diablo 4, you don't do that. Like, you have to look at the item, you've got to be like, okay, well, this one has imbuement ranks, agility ranks. Let me take a look and see what agility is. Let's go to the agility skills. So agility skills are Shadow Step, caltrops, and dash. So that means this is going to give me +1 to caltrops, which is one of my main abilities. So that's actually not bad at all. Imbuement skills are the ones down here that you use to imbue your weapon with, which I'm actually not using any of them except for the passive. And then, you make your choices. I'm actually considering this amulet for my character because, number one, it does have +1 to caltrops, which is something that I need. But I would have to pull the effect off of this frostbitten necklace and put it onto this one. This is a much lower power necklace, though, and it has much less resistances on it. So I might see if I can find something a little bit better. I'm not sure. This one gives +1 agility and +1 subterfuge, which might be a little bit better. And subterfuge is my poison trap. Ooh, that's actually really nice. So that would give me +1 to my caltrops and +1 to my my poison trap, which would be a very nice dual tab amulet. It's not the highest power level amulet, but ooh, it's a very nice amulet. We might have to do that right now. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking this effect off of the amulet, turning it into an aspect, taking my amulet that I feel is better because it gives me +1 to both of the skills that I'm using. So one of my main skills is Caltrops, and another one of my main skills is Poison Trap. So by putting this legendary aspect on this particular item, I'm going to have the effects that I want with the legendary ability that I need. And the legendary abilities don't even seem that rare to obtain. And I'm fine with that because the legendary abilities don't make for good items. Just having a legendary ability doesn't mean anything. And so now I have my Frostbitten necklace here with its array of effects. Now, I could go upgrade this, but I don't really see much need to. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that on. And now I have level 7 Caltrops, and now I have level 7 Poison Trap. Pretty damn cool. And in this way, rare items have basically become like the godlike items of the game. Finding the good rares and then putting the legendary effects that you want on that rare is way better than the way that Diablo 3 ever did things. In fact, I actually really enjoy when I get back to town, because instead of it just being a, oh, yeah, just salvage everything, oh, yep, just, you know, sell everything. Now it's, I go over to the vendor, I very quickly go through each item, I look at all the effects on the items, and I see whether or not they're going to be good for me. And also whether they're going to be good for other people. So, like, and then that's a really cool thing, too, because Diablo 3 never had that. You couldn't really trade anything in Diablo 3. And in Diablo 4 now, you're looking at items not just for yourself, but for other people. Many times throughout the past couple days of Diablo 4 beta, I'll make a new character and somebody will be like, oh, hold on, I got some really cool rogue items I've been saving. Let me see if you can use any of them. And then we'll go over to the stash right here, and I've got items saved up for various characters. Even some legendaries which can be shared. Like, for instance, this one right here is not account bound for some reason. Every time I find a legendary that's not account bound, I'll hold on to them. Like, this is a sorcerer one, and this one is a generic, and that way I can trade them to people. This is another one right here that is not account bound. As you can see, there's quite a few non-account bound legendaries that I've been finding. This one is not account bound. This one is. And basically what you do is you go through and you hang on to these items. Some of these I'm hanging on to for me, and some of these I'm hanging on to for other characters, and some of them I'm hanging on to just to give to other people in the kinship. But then I also hang on to these rares, these specific rares. Like this one is +1 rank of Shadow Step and +1 rank of Caltrops. So this is a nice little pair of boots that have 2 tab skills on them. We also have this one, which is +1 subterfuge skill, so that's similar to what I need. It has resistances, but it's not a double tab skill like this one, which is even better. This one's got smoke grenades with a socket and so forth and so on, and so I hang on to these specifically for people. This one's kind of cool because it's Barrage and Twisting Blades. And if people are doing very specific builds and somebody calls out and they're like, hey, I need, does anybody have a pair of boots with, like, +1 Caltrops and +1 dash, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, I got a pair of those sitting in the stash. They're freaking sweet. And they're like, oh man, I really need those. And you can literally give them to them. It's freaking amazing. And I felt like I needed to make a whole video about this because just like this, just this is really cool. Now, I don't know how this is going to go forward as we advance in levels and we get to some of the more difficult areas that have other items that can potentially drop. If you go to the world tier statue up here, there is a little doojank that tells you about potentially new items that can fall. So if you click on Nightmare difficulty, you can see that it says sacred items and unique items can now drop. Which is a different form of item, so we'll have to see once we reach those. And then Torment also has new ancestral items that can drop, as well as new unique items. So when we get into the Nightmare and the Torment difficulties, there will be more itemization going on, not less. And we'll have to see if that is a positive or a negative. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when I'm just ranting about the godlike rares and the crappy legendaries. And keep watching.